Hello, Tide fans. Welcome to Tide Talk. I'm your host, Sean Taylor, here with my two good buddies, Jimmy Messick, Maurice Booth. Guys, how y'all doing? Hey, the shirt, what's the deal? Is this a whiteout?
It's a whiteout. Y'all wore white last week, and I thought that was going to be a trend. I didn't get the memo, although I wrote one. And I'm wearing an out. Chris, can you zoom in on the belt? That's okay. Thanks. You're always there for me.
So, hey, look, guys, another week, SEC football, another win. I think the big question or the big comment to start the show is, man, again, we do it at a loss. A big win, but a loss. It's unfortunate for Jaylen Waddle. Jimmy, what's your take on just that as how it affects the team, just overall? I mean, what's your thoughts?
Well, in my opinion, Waddle is, if not the, or at least top three most dynamic players in college football. So when you lose that kind of talent, it can't help but have some type of effect on the team. Now, granted, it was the first play of the game. We scored 48 points without him. Bolden had a pretty decent game statistically, minus the fumble. So, did we miss him? Maybe not, but man, yes, we will miss this guy. Long term, we'll miss him. Maybe not regular season. Again, knock on wood, get in the postseason. You can't lose that type of player and not be effective.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
Well, losing a player like Waddle is you don't make up for it. It's a loss. You're going to feel this for the rest of the year. Jaylen Waddle, in my opinion, is without a doubt one of the best players in college football today going. If he wasn't at the University of Alabama, he would definitely be on a Heisman list. And I'm not just talking about on it. He would be somebody to watch week in and week out. He is the same caliber, if not more explosive than Desmond Howard, Rocket Ishmael.
Yeah.
Even Tim Brown, not as big, of course, but he's that explosive.
That type of player.
Losing somebody like that it's going to show we got enough talent, but you hate missing an all-star like this one.
Yeah, I don't know that you can replace a Jaylen Waddle. And Jimmy, to your point, Bolden stepped in and did a really good job. Played really well. That is the expectation at the University of Alabama. We're going to talk about that in a minute, the next guy up type thing. That's the expectation. But you just can't replace. I was talking to a colleague of mine. Again, I'll give him a shout out, Keith Jones. We talk on a regular basis. He's a big Alabama fan. We were talking about that. And you guys know that I mentioned the very first show, why do you have Devontae Smith and Jaylen Waddle back there? And I understand. I do get why you have them back there. Nick Saban has always played his best players on special teams. Yes. He's always done that. So I understand. In my mind, and so I can say this without saying it right after the injury, that armchair quarterback. That's not what I'm doing because, again, you can go back and look. I talked about this the very first show. Why do you have them on there when you're at Alabama and you do have a lot of talent that can potentially, return kicks?
Well, not only do they return kicks, they also cover kicks. We see Smitty.
That's right.
We see Smitty making tackles on the kick coverage team.
But let me ask you this: is special teams any less part of the game than offense or defense?
And I know where you're going with that.
So you put your best players.
That's right. And listen. So again, I'm kind of torn. I understand. Coaching perspective, and listen, Saban is a guy that don't trust a lot. So, he wants the players that he trusts out there on the field, right, and he wants the guys to make plays. It's just difficult when you got a Jaylen Waddle player, that caliber of player that brings a different element to the game. It's hard when you see the guy go out and he's gone for the rest of the year because now you are thinking, man, I wish somebody else could have been returning kicks and just giving him that break or what have you. So,
well, I think we talked about it before the season started, really being excited about Waddle returning kicks and punts. Because again, every time he touches it, it's a chance. Don't blink your eyes or turn away from the TV because he could be taking it to the house. So we were excited about him having that opportunity. Yeah, I mean, it's a shame that the guy gets hurt on that, just doing that. But I don't know, man. Like I said, to me, you got to have him back there personally.
But if you don't have him back there, and I know this year is different from last year, if he's not back there in the Iron Bowl to
That's
return
right.
a punt,
Yeah.
we're not in the game.
LSU game. He
Exactly.
turned it punt.
So those type of players, they make plays.
make
you
plays.
need those plays. It's terrible. It hurts. You hate it for him because I think it was either Jesse Palmer, the Bachelor, the good-looking guy, or Joey Galloway that said.
Do I sense a little jealousy there? No?
Not jealousy, just get off television.
That's right.
I'm fine with that. But it's you got to have your best players out there no matter what. And this is one of those things that happens. It's unfortunate. This kid had basically been working his entire life up to this point because everybody knows that he's going to more than likely go pro regardless. Yeah. And this was his senior year. This was a coming out type of party. Recognize me, rightfully so, and it's over. Now, I'm not going to say it's over completely because even Coach Saban came back and said, well, he's done for the regular season.
It depends on how they heal and that sort of thing. And
Right.
yeah, so again, man, it's tough. I hate it for him. But let me go ahead and say, the next man up mentality. Man, Bolden stepped in and did a really good job. And so take that a different spin. Now Mechie gets an opportunity to be that number 2 guy
Right.
instead of now the number 3. Now Mechie's number 2, and man, Mechie is showing out.
He's good, but I'm still not knocking Bolden. Is he really that number 3? Like I've been saying for the past 2 years, we had the best 3 wide receivers lined up. To me, in the history of college football, because the game has evolved the way it is as
Right.
far as passing. Now I don't know if I know it's not equal to what it was last week, but is it
Right.
comparable?
Well, what you're going to get with Bolden is, you saw his hands. He caught, I think, everything thrown at him. And now you can say he's going to be that kind of possession type guy. I think
Sure-handed.
Clemson had a couple of those guys that we don't want
Sure.
to care to talk about. But anyway, I think that's going to be his role now. He's certainly not going to take the lid off of it. He's not going to be that threat to go over the top with. We do have those guys with Smitty and Minchie, but I think he's going to be fine. But you're right, he's not going to replace Waddle. But I don't think we're going to miss much as far as from a possession standpoint. Or
Yeah, we
that
were
type of
talking,
receiver.
as I mentioned today, I was talking to my colleague Keith Jones, and we were talking about the impact that has, not just offensively, but he believes that it's an impact on the defense because he believes that you're taking away maybe 5 or 6 points a game, when losing Waddle. And I get that perspective. I put a different spin on that and the impact on the defense from the perspective of you may not have those quick strikes as often. When you got Waddle in the game, he goes over the top, and it's a pass 90. He's had 2 plays above 85 yards this year for touchdowns, and so the defense is right back on the field. And maybe those are less, so the defense gets a little
very
bit
possible.
of a break.
That's possible.
So there's a different spin for
It
that.
will be interesting. You're the stats guy. As we go forward to prior to time of possession, as far as how many plays
That'll
it
be
took
a
us
good-
for us to score.
Yeah, be a good stat to keep
So-
up with. Time of
Write
possession.
that down.
I'll be sure to get on that.
It's on your to-do
Prior
list.
to
break.
Waddle's injury, post Waddle injury.
Sean gave you a takeaway.
And
Right, got it.
So there's 2 different ways to look at that. I see Keith's point. I see the thought that you are looking at maybe taking some points off the board because he was a threat to take a punt to the house. He was a threat to take a kickoff to the house. He was a threat to go up top fairly easily and beat somebody deep. And that's a quick score. And now the defense is right back on the field. So, I don't know, different philosophies, different thought process. But again, we're at Alabama. Just like in years past, it's the next guy up. And I think our guys are ready. Slade Bold did a really good job. But great opportunity for us to take a short break. We'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about the offense. The first time in 5 years that we haven't scored a passing touchdown. So on behalf of Bob English and State Farm, hold your seats, Tide fans. We'll be right back with Tide Talk.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, Bob.
In life, some things just go together, like a burger and fries, and home and auto insurance from State Farm. So make it a combo. Combining your home and auto insurance could save you time and money. And who doesn't like that? Just call me, Bob English, or any of my experienced hometown team and find out how you could start saving today. It's just another way.
All right, welcome back, Tide fans. I see that. Nice.
Thank you.
We'll use that on the show in just a second.
I don't think we can.
We were talking before the break about just next man up offense and kind of how we did after that. And yes, Jimmy, we did score 48 points. Was Waddle's injury a direct reflection of us not throwing a touchdown pass? Did that have an impact? Mac Jones's numbers were still really good. From a statistics perspective, he almost broke, as you and I were looking for, he almost broke another, 400-yard game. I think he was 15 yards shy or something like that. I don't know. I think we won't be able to determine that until the next few games. But I will say that for the first time, in 5-6 years, not throwing a touchdown pass, that's a pretty big stat. 2016 was the last time we had not thrown a.
Hey, speaking of stats, Tide fans, so before we get into the personal stats, let's get into some team stats again. So our offense right now, scoring offense, is at 48.4 points per game, which is third nationally and first in the SEC, which let me say this too, we got a few more teams in the mix because the Big started this
Big
weekend.
Ten played this past weekend.
So we actually dropped 0.1 point per game, and we dropped from second to third nationally. We're still first in the SEC in scoring offense. Rushing offense, again, we went up like 0.4 yards per game, which is we're at 168, which is 49th and 4th respectively. Our passing offense, again, man, this is still incredible. 397 a game, which is third nationally and first in the league. Total offense, 566, which is fifth nationally and second in conference. And then another one of note that I wanted to mention, you talked about Waddle's effect on time of possession. Now, I don't know the time of possession we had for the game this past weekend. I know we possessed it longer than we typically do. Two reasons. One, we didn't have that home run that we have been seeing throughout the season, but we also were able to get off the field a few extra times, on the defensive side. But I'll say this, time of possession, again, this is an average of the 5 games we played, but right now we're possessing the ball at 30 minutes and 13 seconds per game, which is 50th nationally and 8th in the conference. Last week, or before last week's game, we were at 29 minutes a game, 47th nationally and 9th. So whatever our numbers were this past week obviously moved that needle by a minute per game as far as overall possession of time. So I think it absolutely will. I think we will. We won't see that one play 85 yards and get off the field, let the defense go play. So I think you will. You do have a point there.
That's interesting. I've always wanted to do this. I don't know why it tastes
a cigar.
It tastes terrible. But to Jimmy's point, as we get closer to daylight savings time, we'll get the ball more time of possession because the day is shortened. I'm confused. But anyway, I digress. I think it's time to go ahead and admit and say what we're all thinking with no touchdown passes and under 400 yards. It's time to bench Mac Jones.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It's Bryce Young's time.
We've seen this, so let's go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. I don't think, again, going back to Waddle being hurt, it's still, you take a very key component out, it's going to hurt you, especially when he throws that deep ball. And Waddle, man, he's got some jumps. I love watching him go up because, in all honesty, sometimes Mac's deep ball it's hard to throw a perfect one in stride.
50-50 ball.
Yeah. And so Waddle makes great adjustments when he's up in the air, and it's just a beautiful thing to watch. But now, without him, you still got Devontae Smith. To me, that's one of the best in the country.
Let's don't forget. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's don't forget.
No.
Do you know the stat for the number of targets based on our receivers? Smitty, Waddle, Mechie, Bolden, Najee Harris, Forrestal.
What?
The number of targets are 59 for Smitty. The next closest is Waddle at 29. So let's don't forget that the best receiver, the guy that we look to the most is still on the field. And Smitty is a phenomenal receiver. I do believe, and I think we've all seen, Mechie is a guy, he's a guy to be reckoned with. People are going to have to give him attention. You're not going to be able to just put a safety over the top over Smitty and leave Mechie. And then, of course...
So that means Bolden as a slot is going to be open. Or is going to have the single coverage that everybody desires.
Well, I think we saw that Saturday. He caught 9 passes.
Hey,
Or 9 passes for 100 yards.
Or Najee out of the backfield.
Oh, yeah.
Who has also been targeted often and is a sure-handed back catching the football. I mean, listen, and you can't take away from Forrestal. I mean, the guy is solid tight end, catching the ball, running routes, blocking. So, man, you look at Waddle and go, man, that's going to stink. And you don't want to take away from the impact of the player that he is, but for our offense as a whole, I mean, we're still going to produce.
Yes.
Well,
to answer your question about was Waddle the reason why we didn't have any touchdown passes thrown, no, because we still, like you mentioned, we still have 2 pretty decent receivers along with Bolden. So I don't think it had anything to do with it. I think we could have thrown for 4 touchdown passes if we wanted to. Instead, we were just handing it off because they couldn't stop Najee from running the ball.
I mean, five rushing touchdowns, on the day, and like I said, I agree, Jimmy. I think we could have thrown numerous touchdown passes, but we also had an opportunity to eat up clock, run the football, and we had some success with that.
The most is surprising, which I know we'll get into the next segment because I wrote this, is the fact that Najee, he didn't have 100, did he?
No, he had 97.
97. And I was watching him walk off the field, and he didn't look too happy. I don't know if he was just upset, but I mean, you got plenty of touches. You scored, but I don't, because as we get into late October, November, Heisman talks. This is abnormal year, but those 100-yard games, they really do matter to the ignorant voters. I'm sorry, the voters out there for the Heisman, right, because he's at 97. Just like Mac, all he needed was really one more pass, and he's over 400.
400 again for the 4th time.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that there's got to be something inside from a competitive perspective. As a rusher, as a running back, you want to reach that 100-yard landmark. That's just, it's something that you strive for and you work for every day during the week and of course the off season. And I think he probably wanted that, deep down. But, talk about Brian Robinson real quick. Listen, he again showed that he is a force to be reckoned with within our offense. And, I didn't even know until later on that Saban said he got nicked up a little bit. Nothing serious, but he got banged up a little bit, so he didn't put him back in the game, which is the reason we saw Trey Sanders a little bit earlier than normal.
Back to your point about Najee looking upset, which was right after he thought he scored. We were hurry up to the line, run a quarterback sneak, and he immediately just walks off the field like he's pouting about something. Saban made him out there on the field, if you recall.
Yeah.
And he didn't see the football the next possession or the next couple of possessions because I think maybe that was part of Saban's,
saying, hey, this is a team game.
Yeah.
This is
but I also read too, not necessarily in that particular moment, but him and Waddle are really good friends. And somebody was saying that, he was really kind of distraught about his buddy getting hurt and carrying off the field too. So.
Well, there's no I in team, but there is an ME. Always remember that.
That's right. Good point.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Good point. And with that point, we're going to take another short break. We'll come back. Don't say that again. We'll come back in just a few minutes, Tide fans. Hold your seats. We'll be right back with Tide Talk.
Enjoy the good times a little more with the right plan. As your State Farm agent, I am here to help you protect your dreams and loved ones with life insurance. With over 60 years combined State Farm experience, call me or any of my team to find out which options are best for you. Another way, we're here to help life go right.
All right, Tide fans, we're back for segment 3. We've pretty much broken down the offense. We know where we stand there. We know how we look and what to expect. But let's talk a little bit about the defense, guys. I want to know your thoughts, Jimmy, on and you too, Maurice. But
I was about to say yes, Jimmy. Let's just hear your
with Jimmy.
thoughts.
Just mine?
I'm going to start with Jimmy. Jimmy, what's your thoughts on just the defensive play? How do you think we played? Did we play any better? How do you think we looked?
I mean, if you look at the score, you would say we did. I mean, and I do believe we did.
Speaking of the score, is it a good point for me to reference?
See, I did that on purpose.
Good job. Hey, attaboy. Good leading. Is it okay for me to reference that I nailed the prediction?
No,
by the
Jimmy
way?
was talking. Go ahead.
Anyway.
I was on the 5-yard line anyway.
Yeah. So yes, I mean, I think the defense is playing better. I mean, I think it started week before last with Georgia. I think we saw some improvements. We saw some improvements this week. Now, again, Tennessee's not great on the offensive side of the ball. But still, I think we're seeing some of that improvement. Are we still missing tackles? Yes, unfortunately, I think we may be talking about that all freaking year for whatever reason. But I do believe as a whole, we're getting better. And let me just throw these out there real quick before Maurice gets to talking. Since we're talking about stats, Tides fan, I think I missed this last week. So defensively,
go ahead.
Scoring defense, and I'll try to make it quick for time's sake. Scoring defense, 26.4 points per game right now after 5. We're 41st in the country and 5th in the league. That's down 2 points a game from the previous week. Rushing defense, again, which is what we've always kind of prided ourselves on, 147 a game, which is still way too much. Again, down 2 yards per game. But we're 47th nationally and 7th in the league. Passing defense, when this was 279 a game, 80th in the country, and 11th in the league. Now, let me stop there and say I think part of that is because we're always ahead of people by 2 or 3 touchdowns and people are having to throw more. But still, we're still giving up close to 290 a game through the air. Total defense, 427 a game, tied for 64th in the country and 10th in the league. But that is down. I mean, that's down almost 30 yards per game from the previous week. Still giving up. This is the stat that I thought we'd be a whole lot worse at, because it seems like every time I look up, a team is converting a third down conversion against us. But right now we're giving up 46% conversions on third down, which I'd have thought it had been about 70%.
Higher, yeah.
Which is good for 77th in the country and 9th in the league. So, anyway, so I just want to throw those out there.
Well, I mean, that was quick to his point. Anywho, is it Tuesday? So no, I think the defense has played a lot better. I think the coverage, the overall communication looks better. I think there's more gang tackling or better tackling altogether. I don't think it's perfect by any means, but I think it's a lot better. I think Dylan Moses played a good game. Will Anderson had to me a really good game. He's starting to kind of come on. To your point, it's not an offensive juggernaut that we faced this past weekend, but still, you're supposed to dominate those that aren't that good. And I think they did a pretty good job of it. The one thing that I have a problem with, and we're going to have it all year, is we're not going to have any type of defensive pass rush. And Saban addressed it today in his press conference. And per usual, since y'all don't ever want to question Nick, I will. He says, I don't think that you can absolutely judge a pass rush just by sacks. Sorry, Nick. That is how you judge it. There has to be pressure. There has to be some type of hurries, and there has to be sacks every now and then. So I know that and he did this a few years ago when we really didn't have one. It was probably about 12 or 13 back then. But we don't have a pass rush. And the reason I bring it up, and I'm not getting ahead of ourselves, But in case we do end up facing a Justin Fields or a Trevor Lawrence,
We need one.
good luck.
Exactly.
Those are some
Well, we've
bad,
already seen what happens to us against Trevor Lawrence when there's no pass rush.
Those are some bad boys back there playing quarterback.
The front four, in my opinion, is not very good. I'm just going to put it out there. I just don't think our front four. I don't see a lot of technique. I
No.
don't see a lot of
Swim moves.
swim moves, spin moves. I don't see us getting off blocks.
Right.
I watched DJ Dale the other day on a replay where he's locked up with the guy, and that's what he's supposed to do. But the running back runs right past him, and he's still locked up with the guy. And that, I just know, and it's not because I'm spoiled. I know that we're supposed to shed that guy and make a tackle. And we're just not seeing that. And
It's like a wrestling match. Look, I think I mentioned that 2 or 3 weeks ago.
yeah,
It's
I mean,
wrestling.
I'm going to tell you, I do disagree with Nick to an extent with respect to pass rush and sacks. Now, do you know that we are ranked with the number of hurries and the number of tackles for loss? I mean, we're so why are we not getting sacks? And in my opinion, it's because of we're not handling responsibility. We get the guys off the edge. Anderson's getting some rush off the edge.
That's the only speed we got.
Yeah, and I believe,
Unless you blitz.
Chris Allen.
Allen off the other, really good players. But it's the guys in the middle. I don't see DJ Dale and Barrymore and Mathis and Young, and of course LeBron Ray's still out, and there's no telling when he's going to come back. By
Young
the way,
is looking better, but for the defensive line, to your point, go back and watch a tape on Quinnen Williams. That dude could get off a block.
Yeah.
They said it was like blocking a 300-pound bar of soap. He was that slippery. That he wasn't locked up with there. He was moving. He was always going forward, and you weren't going to control me. That type of attitude and that type of play, and I don't see that.
Yeah,
and I
we're
think
just-
they're good, but I don't see
yeah,
that.
I just don't see the middle of the line doing a good enough job.
Standard.
We're not getting any pressure in the middle. We can get some pressure off the edge, but quarterbacks are sliding in the pocket and running for 12, 13-yard first downs when it's 3rd and 13. And we're just, I don't see, which then, of course, causes more pressure and work on the linebackers.
Right.
Dylan Moses, when we're in a nickel and he's the only linebacker and he's having to fight off, a guy that's 300 pounds that's blocking him, as well as it's just difficult. And I'm hoping, so I will say that I think we've played better as a whole defensively. I think our DBs are doing a pretty good job.
Right.
We've made some mistakes, and we're going to. Listen, the guy just blew by him the other day on the touchdown pass. He had a 10-yard pad, and the guy just runs past him. Well, that's not technique or scheme. That's when you and I were texting. That's not scheme. That's just getting beat.
Right.
And you're not using what they've taught you with back pedal, drop step, all those things. And I want to see the front four do a better job, because we all know the DBs can't guard 4-3 receivers, 4-4 receivers all day long. If we're getting some pressure, I think our DBs are doing pretty.
I think overall in college football this year, last year, and years past, a defense starts in that middle, right up front. And so the teams that dominate defensively are dominant up
Look
front.
at Clemson back 2 years ago. They had a dominant front four.
Yeah, so I think our defense will get that much more better if that's
Evolve.
if that's even a saying. But it's got to start with right there. We go as that defensive front.
Yeah,
goes.
and listen, we have depth. We have depth there.
Mm-hmm.
We're just. It doesn't seem to me. And is this a Freddie Roach issue?
I think this is more, and I hate to use this as an excuse, I think it's more of a spring practice.
Spring practice, and I will again. Me and Keith Jones, we talked about that today. Don't want to continue to use that as an excuse, but it's not just Alabama. It's across the board. There's a lot of people missing tackles, and there's a lot of things, responsibilities. They're losing responsibility and things like that. And if you're a college football fan, if you watch the game and like to see those types of things, it's just not happening. I do think we're playing better as a whole defensively. I think we're getting better. But I want to see us do a better job up front, the front four. I want to see, and are we going to make some changes? Are we going to bring some people down, Christian Harris, and let him rush off the edge?
I like speed coming off the corner.
Go back to the Tim Robinson days.
Tim Williams.
I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry. Tim Williams. The Joker wasn't the biggest guy, but you couldn't stop him because he was so fast off the ball. Right,
and that's what I want to see. I want to see somebody get on the edge, get underneath the tackles, long arms, and get to the quarterback. Even if you don't sack him, I do want to see a quarterback having to step up, and then when he steps up, he's met by Barrymore.
That's right, by somebody in the middle.
So that's I'm not asking a lot.
And I will say this, we've talked about it all the time. We talk about it often. Are we showing a lot? Man, because I want to tell you, our blitz packages are so vanilla. I mean, it looks like
it's coming.
We're just blitzing to a spot and kind of just standing there. We're not going for the football. We're not blitzing to get to the quarterback. I mean, I watched this against Tennessee. We blitz and bring a linebacker and bring a cornerback, and we just run right into their blockers. Yeah. We're not doing anything to get past the blockers to the quarterback. And so, are we showing a whole lot? I don't know. Did we need to? No.
Well, what are we waiting for?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I did see Nick bust a vein during a timeout, and Golden kind of just put his mask on and
walked away.
Maybe that's what's needed.
Yeah.
All right, so coming up, Mississippi State. Look, Mississippi State had a big win at the first game of the year with LSU, and then they haven't really done anything since then.
Got that right.
Mike Leach, he always has kind of scared me because he's just kind of out there and he does some off-the-wall stuff. But, we're favored by 24, I think, or something.
I thought it was 28 something.
28, we're favored by 24, 28 points. I do not see this being a close game. They
32.
cannot.
32.
Oh, okay, so it's went up some.
It's on his notes.
I guess somebody should read their
I do not see
research.
Mississippi State being able to stay with us. Predictions. Maurice?
Predictions already, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. Really nothing from Mississippi State. I don't know if he's still playing. Their quarterback Costello, he was benched after being
a superstar against LSU,
winning the Heisman the first week. So I don't know what they have to offer. Not much. So I'm going to stick with something around. I'm not being ugly here. 59-10.
59-10.
It's going to be bad.
It seems like every week we're talking about scoring 50-something and not giving up much.
Have.
So, and there's a reason for that, right? So, again, more of the same for me too, Tide fans.
Proof's in the pudding.
Yeah. I think just like both things, I think it's not going to be close. I think we're going to score at will. I don't know about their offense. I don't think they've shown much of nothing since the first week. So I think it's going to be very similar. 50, I can't say what he says, but I'm going to say 56 to 17.
Wow, you really undercut me there.
Got you by yeah. I do agree. I think we're going to score a lot of points. I think we're going to be able to score as much as we need to score. I really am looking forward to our defense trying to grow in this game, to try to get better. They do have a good running back, by the way. The kid that's what is his name? Lee, maybe? Number 8 is the running back for Mississippi State. Good running back. So I'd love to see us grow as a defense to stop the run, maybe do some things with the front four that we have not done, get some pressure, get some sacks. That'd be great, seeing how we went 2 games without a sack. I'm going to go 55-13. I think we're going to score in the 50s, and I think it's going to be ugly early.
I'll make a prediction. I bet this time Bryce Young connects. I know Saban doesn't like to hear about subs playing, but Bryce Young gets in, throws a touchdown pass.
It'd be nice. I think it'd be good for his confidence.
And it would have been good for my prediction last week if he would have scored that, and then I would have beat you. Anyway.
But you didn't.
I didn't.
So that's the reason I'm the host of the show.
And you owe me a beer.
That's right. So we'll be right back here next week, guys. Watch us on Channel 207 and also check us out on our YouTube channel. We'll be talking about hopefully another win over Mississippi State, and then getting ready. I think we have LSU after that, maybe?
Yes.
Big game with LSU. So we'll see you again next week right here on Tide Talk. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.